Hi, I'm Molly from Wild Olive, and today I'm going to show you an easy way to transform some embroidery into a little ornament in a miniature, well, kind of a small embroidery hoop. For this, I am using this finished pattern. This is part of my Jessie Tree embroidery pattern set, and this is a 3-inch embroidery hoop, which I have already painted. I have a YouTube short showing me painting my embroidery hoops. I've made a whole bunch of them so that I can make a bunch of ornaments. And I'm going to show you how I fit this in here and finish off the back so that it looks nice on both sides, and then you can hang it on your Christmas tree or just hang it up as an ornament, not even for Christmas. So I'm starting out with my hoop separated. You're going to want to loosen the screw quite a bit usually, because we're also going to put a little bit of felt in the hoop, and this isn't absolutely necessary, but I find that with certain fabrics it helps just really make it makes the fabric on the front look more opaque. I'll show you. You can see through some of my stitching through this, and if you stitch with stabilizer behind it, that can help but prevent that. But you can see here a little bit, it just looks like you can see through it a little bit. So to prevent that, I'm using a square of felt. As I said, this is a 3-inch embroidery hoop, but technically it's just a little bit larger than that. So I'm using a square of felt that's about 5 inches square. So I have that there. I'm going to put this over it. Try and center that design. It just makes, I feel like it makes the design show a little bit clearer. Again, not necessary, but it also, a benefit to having felt in there is it's going to help make the whole fit of your embroidery hoop tighter. So I have this outer hoop loosened. Press it on there tight. And then on the back, you can see it's on there like that. And what I'm going to do, by the way, this is not, you can see a little bit of the edge there. This isn't pressed all the way in yet, and that's okay right now, because what I'm going to do, I've got this little bit of extra felt here, carefully, because I don't want to cut the fabric. I only want to cut the felt. I want to cut this extra felt away. Make sure that I don't cut any fabric. And I am trimming this down pretty close. Okay, that's all cut away. I was not super worried about perfection because it's going to be covered. So that is the felt trimmed pretty close there. Now I'm going to go around and I'm going to trim the fabric, but here I'm going to leave a wider margin of fabric. This is, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch, an inch. Again, it'll be covered, but having it a little more even is, I think, helpful. Okay, that's done. Next, I have a piece of just regular thread and a needle, and I've tied a fairly good sized knot so that it holds secure. But just to secure it a little bit more, I usually take a stitch like that, and then one extra stitch, and that kind of locks it in. All right, then we're just going to take fairly big size running stitch around the edge. If your thread starts getting a little short, you can start gathering it in. That'll give you a little more working thread. Okay, I've made it to the end, and or I should say back to the beginning, and I'm going to pull this in tight. Let's come back up. It'll be easier to work from this side. All right, we're just going to pull this so that it's gathered. And just like at the beginning, I'm going to take an extra stitch through, just like a little back stitch, and that makes it easier to pull and hold the gathers while I tie a knot. Okay. Cool. You can see on the back, it's still poking up there. We're going to actually now push this forward a little bit more so that it's more flush at the back and poking out at the front. And nice and even. Now, the thing you want to do is really, at this point, tighten the hardware on this. In fact, if you have a screwdriver that matches up with your hoop, do that. We want this to be as tight as can be. We're not gonna glue the embroidery to this hoop necessarily, but we are gonna use some glue when covering the back. If you absolutely had to, sometimes what happens with embroidery and hoops is over time, the fabric will stretch or loosen, and it can make the embroidery look not so great. So for regular hoops, I try to avoid using glue, but for an ornament, it's small, and we're gonna go ahead and add a little bit of glue to this. I have pre-cut a felt circle. This one I cut using a die cutter that makes the size that happens to match the back of this embroidery hoop, but you could also trace your hoop. In fact, you could trace the outside of the inner hoop, and that will give you a good size for it. But this is going to cover the back. We're going to take a little bit of craft glue and put it right around the edge, mostly on the hoop itself. If some gets onto the fabric, it's okay. It will help kind of hold everything in place. But down the road, if you keep your ornament and you notice that the fabric is stretching and it's not looking right, you could peel this felt circle off that we're going to put on here, and you could retighten the fabric. It should peel okay. Some people also do this with hot glue. That would 100% work. It's a little bit faster, dries fast that way, but do some traditional tacky glue here. So then my felt circle, I'm just gonna press it down all around the edges. By the way, this felt backing is kind of like a blank canvas for you. So if you wanted to, this is a great place. Obviously, before you've glued it on, you can embroider a date or a little message. That'd be a perfect spot for adding that to a keepsake. All right. So there's what that looks like from the back. Turn it around the front. You can see it just a little bit up at the top, but that's just part of your ornament. So there's that. Now, all that we have left to do is add a little hanging loop to it. You can add a hanging loop lots of different ways. I'm just going to take a piece of baker's twine, and let's see here. This is about 9 inches long or so. You can decide how long you want your hanging loop to be. And I'm bringing the ends together and tying a knot. Put the folded side through the hardware. Bring that up. And you have a little hanging embroidery hoop ornament that is all framed inside of a pretty little painted hoop. So not counting the embroidery and preparing the painting on the hoop, this project took less than 15 minutes start to finish. Obviously, the amount of embroidery will change the time it takes to work on that, depending on your pattern. And painting the hoop only takes a few minutes. By the time you've finished one coat, you can almost put a second coat on right away. But it might be something you want to do the day before you plan on framing up your embroidery ornament. But this is really an easy way to add something special to your tree or give a little gift to someone, even at the last minute. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more content. If you really like stitching, both cross stitch and embroidery, you should check out my Coffee Clatch, which is a really fun membership. It's a great way for you to support the work that I do and get access to more patterns and stitching videos and things. So be sure to check that out as well. The link is in the description. Thanks so much for watching.